Welcome to this tutorial on how to draw a cartoon in Photoshop. The first thing we're going to do is to create a new file. I like to do my files rather big so I can go in detail with them. First we're going to talk about brushes. Normally they look like this. But when you draw with the tablet like I do right now, you can go into your brush settings and enable the shape dynamics. Now the harder I press, the bigger the brush gets. That gives me much more control of my brush and my lines. When I draw, I usually put the opacity of my brush down to about 60–70%. That gives me much more control of my lines. Okay, let's get started. First you check that you have one layer that's all white and a blank one on top. I always start my drawings with a few lines that defines how my character is going to stand. Now we're going to go a bit more in detail. We're going to make a new layer on top of the other and put the opacity to about 50 on the old one. Then we give him a bit more meat on his bones. This next step is a bit like the other one. We are going to create a new layer and put the opacity of the old one down. On the new layer we're going to draw a character with a bit more detail. We're drawing his face, hair, clothes, shoes, and so on. Now we're going to make some more smooth lines. We're going to make a new layer and bring the opacity down on the old one. We can draw the lines by hand, but it's not gonna be as smooth as we want it to. And that's why we're gonna use the tool called the pen tool. The pen tool basically makes a path that we can control with anchor points. Very simple and easy to use, but it takes a bit of practice to be good at it. You can always go back with the selection tool and correct your path. Now you're going to modify your brush to the thickness and size you want your lines to be. Also remember to put the opacity of your brush to 100%. Now you go back to the selection tool, you right click, choose stroke path, choose brush, make sure simulate pressure is not toggled, and then OK. That gives you a nice smooth line all the way along your path. Now you can press backspace 2 times and start lining up all of your drawing. Now we've come to coloring. We're going to make the t-shirt grey. We make a new layer underneath the lines layer. On that layer you color the t-shirt inside the lines. And when you're done with the t-shirt, you simply make a new layer and continue with, for example, the jeans. Remember to always make a new layer, and it's always a good idea to name your layers. That way you don't get too confused. Some might say we're done now, but we're going to put shadows on our drawing. Now you choose the layer you want to put shadows on. Then you make a new layer on top of that, hold in the Alt key and press right between the two layers. Now, whatever you draw on the top layer, it will only show within the borders of the other layer. Then you can go ahead with the shadows. That's basically it. Of course this drawing is very simple, but the techniques also work with much more complicated work. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe.